Hi, welcome to Lez Lounge. I'm Michelle, your host, and today we have Monica, the person who created the meetup LiLLies. So I guess there's stages of
there is no air left to breathe. Do you just wanna to be left outside the grid? It's all for sure. You didn't know. I wonder what it meant.
Monica, can you tell us a little more about the LiLLies?
Yes. It started in 2008. I was familiar with Meetup because of a book club that I was in.
Okay.
And at the time, I was also participating in an online chat room. And there wasn't anybody local. And I really felt the need to talk to somebody in person who was kind of following along in my path and had similar situations. So I created the LiLLies on Meetup.
And what does LiLLies mean or stand for?
LiLLies stands for Later in Life Lesbians.
Lesbians.
And at one point we were late in Life Lesbians, but it just made us sound old. And we weren't that old yet.
And kind of like late blooming lesbians.
Women who've discovered that they are lesbian later in life and after marriage. It's not a prerequisite to be married in order to be in LiLLies.
Okay.
But those people who are married or who have been married and have children, they have a difficult road to figure out.
Yeah.
So it was meant to be a support group.
So a support group for coming out lesbians.
Yes. Yeah. And, a lot of people can consider it a coming out group.
Yeah.
I have friends who, some of them have not been married, don't have kids, but that doesn't mean they're not welcome in LiLLies.
Right.
So we keep our doors open to a lot of, different backgrounds and experiences. So we're not going to discriminate if you haven't been married to a man.
That's not the prerequisite.
No, it's not a prereq. Yeah. No.
And how long has the group been alive and doing well?
So I guess it's been about 2008.
Wow, 2008.
So we're at 11, 12 years, something like that.
And how many members are?
Wow, the last time I even checked, it was about 650.
Wow.
So
from
I don't know,
all parts of the U.S. and maybe even globally.
Most of them are local.
Okay, local to California.
Yeah,
okay.
Southern California, because we meet in person when there's not a pandemic. We meet in person.
Yeah, it's been probably like 2 years or a year since you guys met, or do you guys do it through Zoom?
we had our last meeting right here in the living room, maybe a month before we had to go into lockdown.
Okay.
And we did continue to do some stuff online.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't know, I think everybody's sort of in this Zoom exhaustion phase, and we haven't done much, but we will. I mean, I can't wait for this to be over in order to. We continue to get new members through this, and sometimes they've had some questions or some problems that we've been able to help them with just via social media and emails.
Nice.
But there are going to be a lot of new faces once we get started again.
I figured with the pandemic happening, like everybody's kind of like really thinking about their process of coming out, and maybe it's safer online and then meeting in person, or
when we did start doing the meetings online, we had brand new people.
Wow.
And they weren't like huge groups. There might be 8, 10 women discussing. But when we would have somebody who was new, this one time in particular, there was a new member's story that was just absolutely in sync with the story that another member could help her with or had experience with. And so we still managed to, help those people and just be there for support.
Right.
650, by the way, was the answer to how many LiLLies are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the last time I checked, and I haven't checked in a long time. And I know almost weekly we get a new member.
Okay.
So it might be around 700.
Okay.
I don't know, we should Google that stuff and find out what it is.
So I guess everybody has a story when it comes to LiLLies. what was yours? What made you even create the LiLLies?
Well, there was this chat room.
Okay.
And it was very East Coast centric. And I would be sitting there, you know, chatting in the dark in my family room after the kids and everybody went to bed. And
Was this AOL or like what was around Yahoo Chat?
well, I'm going to give Joanne Fleischer some credit. She's a therapist
Okay.
based in somewhere in Pennsylvania. And she had a website
Okay.
called Lavender Visions or something like that. And then there was this chat room called Ask Joanne. And it was just, this was like, you know, back in 2006. So it was a different kind of, I don't know, format, I
Yeah.
guess. So somebody would ask a question and then you'd click on that and then there'd be a conversation. And it was very interesting because my husband at the time,
Okay.
Kevin, he actually, because of him, I found out about Joanne Fleischer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I
your
have to give him
husband-
credit and thanks for that. I was out to him
Okay.
and I was out of town. Oh, you're drinking wine. I'm going to
Yes,
take some too.
definitely.
There.
Cheers.
So he recorded an episode of Oprah for me.
Okay.
And it was about a woman who had come out later in life, after marriage, kids. And Kevin's like, Monica might be interested in this. So he recorded it for me. And because of that, I found out about Joanne Fleischer, who had written a book. I think it's called Married to a Man, but in Love with a Woman. There's another byline to that title.
Yep.
But I need to give her credit. And I was participating in this chat room, and it was just as if you could see the lights going off across the country, and then I'd be sitting there all by myself with nobody else to chat with at midnight, you know. It'd be 2 o'clock in the Midwest, and
Yeah.
I was sitting there by myself. So one night I said, you know, I clicked, is anybody out there from Pasadena, California?
Wow.
And the next day I got a response, and a woman said, well, I'm from South Pasadena. And I said, I'm from South Pasadena. And the next day we're at the coffee shop talking for 4 hours.
Wow.
And it wasn't long after that that LiLLies began.
So you guys both had something in common, and
Oh, yeah.
you're like, this has to happen.
Yeah. And, you know, I had been out to, I was in my coming out process when we met.
Okay.
I had come out to most of my friends and my sisters. I think I may have been out, and my husband, I was out to him. I think I may have been out to my kids at that point. I can't quite remember. But I wasn't out to my parents. She wasn't out to anybody.
Wow.
And that's why
Wow.
we talked for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Support systems there.
Just to, yes, support.
support.
Just somebody to hear you and to look somebody in the eye and know that they know how you feel and that they're, you know, scared like you.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
How did so when your husband recorded this video, or recorded Oprah, showed it to you, how was the response? Like,
How was my response?
how was
or-
your response? How was his response to
You know,
everything?
That's a good question. My response was, you're cool. You're a cool guy. Thank you.
He knew it.
Well, I was out to him.
Right.
And when you first come out, when I first came out to him, he was actually, maybe it was because he was in shock, but he was pretty cool about it. And it was actually the second time I had said the words. The first time we both it happened, and then we both ignored it for years.
And in between those, you were ignoring those years. Nothing really, you never got with a woman. It just was like an idea floating inside.
We had this biannual conversation that I have titled, Why Aren't We Having More Sex? Of course, he was the one asking the question. And, you know, every married couple has reasons they have their ups and downs.
Yeah.
He would suggest we go to, you know, marriage counseling. And it's amazing that this psychological block that you can have where you can know but not know. I wasn't able to admit to myself that I was gay, but somewhere in there I knew I was.
Okay.
And I knew that marriage counseling wasn't going to do us any good. So we never did that.
Was it because of the heterosexual sort of what marriage was in counseling, or was it, did you feel like you needed like to go to somebody that was more like in the LGBT realm of therapy and marriage counseling?
To be honest with you, I wasn't even there yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Now that I can look back on my life, I know I was always gay. I can now explain those feelings that I had when I was a kid. Gotcha. And when you are in 4th grade and you have a crush on a girl in your class, or a teacher, or one of your mom's friends,
right.
And if you grow up in a time and a place where you don't know you're gay because nobody talks about it, and it's not on TV or movies or in music, if you don't have a word to go with that, then it has no meaning for you. One of our members put it really well. She was Italian and Catholic, and she said, when I grew up, lesbian was not in the dictionary. And I'm like,
the island of lesbian, Lesbos, but maybe not the word lesbian, right? Like in that way.
You know, that's a good question. I would like to go back to a dictionary that was printed in the 1950s and 60s. Her dictionary probably would have been printed in, an up-to-date one in the 50s. She was older than me. And she's like, lesbian wasn't in the dictionary. Now, that might just be a nice poetic example for all of us to say, we didn't even know what gay was. Okay. So if you don't know that even exists, if you have those feelings and it's not a thing,
No, it's not. It's emotions. It's powerful. Yeah. It stops your day.
There's nowhere to put that information. It's like you don't have a file. And somebody once said, well, were you in the closet? And I said, well, how can you be in the closet if you don't know there's a closet? And I'm like, right. It's more like an empty file that's in a box that's shoved into a dark closet.
And then
you don't even know what it is that's hiding.
Yeah.
But you are hiding and you feel it. It's instinctual. When you're different than everybody else, and nobody's talking about, there's nobody else in my class saying I have a crush on Christy, except for the boys, maybe. Yeah. None of the girls are going to say that out loud. And then when you get into junior high or high school, and you become aware that there are homosexuals in the world, well, in the late 70s, early 80s, when that was happening to me, you don't dare open your mouth about it.
Wow.
So then you go on with your life, and you marry your best friend. You still marry somebody you love,
right?
But you don't have the kind of connection that you're supposed to have.
That fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. There's
not that deep satisfaction fulfillment of.
And there's a missing piece to it. There's a hole in it. It's not fulfilling for you, and it's not fulfilling for them either most of the time.
Yeah.
That's why we were having the conversation twice a year. How come we don't have more sex? One of those times I actually said, I finally said, I think I might be gay. And there wasn't this blowout argument. I mean, there was some crying involved. Yeah. But neither of us said anything about it for probably took me another 4 or 5 years before I said it again.
And you're ready to be with a woman or fulfill that satisfaction or that need or that your true authentic self.
Yes. Yeah. Authentic is the word.
Yeah.
Authentic is the word.
It is.
And you get to a point, even with my parents, it's like, should I live my life and not let them really know who I am truly?
So, at what age did you finally come out to your parents?
Oh, the math. The math. So I came out to my parents. I was about 42, I guess.
Okay.
I was in my early 40s.
Okay.
And my kids were like 8 and 12, 13.
And you came out to them when they were that age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
How did your parents take it versus your kids, or?
When the words first came out of my mouth, they cried.
Okay.
Because the first thing that they realize is that my parents are going to get a divorce. So it's upsetting.
Yeah.
No kid wants, well, most kids don't want that. With my oldest daughter, I came out first, and I came out because she knew something was up. I had come out to her father, and she just knew something was wrong. And this is where it gets kind of sad and confusing, counterintuitive. Kevin and I had one of those evenings where we were discussing our situation.
Kevin, your husband.
My husband. Yeah. And there had been tears and some bickering, and we basically, at the end of the conversation, came to the conclusion that we loved each other enough still that we wanted each other to be happy.
Okay.
And we knew that the day would come when we would need to separate. So let's not rock the boat. And as long as we're getting along and we have a happy home, then we'll continue to coexist in this home together and raise our daughters.
Okay.
And then at the end of that conversation, we hugged.
Nice.
and went to bed.
In the same bed?
I think at that time it was, yeah, and we were still sleeping in the same bed.
Okay. Still having sex and like...
No, not really.
Okay.
Unless we'd been to a party and we were both...
That's how it usually happens, a few drinks and...
You know, there was a time, there was this weird period where it was, you know, it would happen every once in a while. And usually, well, always, it happened because I felt an obligation, you know.
To
keep
Kevin.
the peace.
Gotcha.
You know, take the edge off. Maybe he won't yell, you know, so much.
Not to pry into it, but
right,
have you had sex with a woman yet along these lines? Okay, so it was just Kevin and...
That night of the party, we ended up having a conversation afterwards. And I admitted to him that, well, he said something like, I wish it could be like that all the time. And I'm like, it's not going to. I'm like, we both had plenty to drink. And yeah, that was fun. That was okay, but it's not normal. And I told him it was more of an obligation usually than not.
Yeah.
That this is a special occasion because we had both had a good time at a party. And he was just like, I don't want to do this if you're only doing it because you feel obligated. And I'm like, what can I say? That's how I feel.
Yeah. And
we ended up having a very meaningful conversation that night and agreed to start seeing other people. And we agreed to an open relationship.
Okay.
We agreed that neither of us would, you know, start some wicked custody battle over our children because the other one, you know, is dating.
The peace was kept.
The peace was kept. Neither of us did anything about it for quite a long time. It was probably another, you know, year, really, before either of us. I was scared. I was a scared chicken. I didn't know how to go out and meet women, and I didn't know how I would be accepted in the lesbian community. I didn't think anybody would want to date me because I was married to a guy and living with him, and you know,
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My therapist almost threw her notebook at me when I told her I didn't feel eligible. And
so when you did feel the need to go out there and meet a woman, so you had an open relationship, and after that year, how did you like actually meet somebody?
The internet.
The internet.
I met on the internet.
Best friends with the internet.
Well, I was part of the reason why this she was very much a catalyst, I believe, as I had a crush on a friend of mine.
Okay.
And we were kind of new to Southern California. We had lived here for a couple of years, but I was just finally I just sort of cultivated this group of friends because they were all single moms, and I was like the token married woman of this single mom group, and that in itself was a support group.
Okay.
It's like, oh my God, I'm running late. Can you pick up so and so from school? It's like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And we would get together all the time, weekly, sometimes more than once a week, to cook dinner for each other, and the kids would all play, and we'd drink wine and spill our guts. And I was really close to spilling my guts to this group of women.
And they were all, were they?
They were all straight except for one.
Okay.
And she was kind of the new girl that came in, and I was like, oh shit.
I have a crush on her.
I developed a huge crush on her. And when I finally did come out to my friends, she was right there.
Wow.
And I didn't know she was gay when I first met her. And when I had a crush on her and I didn't know she was gay.
Okay.
And I was living with Kevin. She's in my house. I'm crushing on her. She's coming over, once a week at least.
Or you're
and
inviting
we're
her
all
over.
hiking together and doing things with the kids. And she was talking about an ex this, ex that, and saying her name over again.
Wow.
And we're like, who's this? I don't want to mention names. Who is this so-and-so you're talking about? It's like, oh, that's my ex. Oh, yeah, I'm gay. Didn't you know I was gay? And we're like, no.
When you heard that.
I left the room. I went into the laundry room, and I paced back and forth going, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, fuck. What am I going to do? I mean, I was like, I had to, calm down. And then.
So the excitement built. And you were like,
woohoo!
You calmed down, you went back out there, and your game changed, obviously.
No, I had no game. I had no game at all. And it was several months later before I came out.
Okay.
And we were at her house, and they, the ladies had been around, and they had, been having their wine, and I had a visitor, so I had to come late, and they were all, they're silly. They'd been there for hours, and I had just come in, and I just took that opportunity people were telling stories, and the window opened, and I jumped out of it.
And what was that story you told?
Oh, that I had a threesome once. And I enjoyed the girl more than I enjoyed the guy. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, that was great. But you'd think that I would have known. You'd think that a light bulb would have gone off, but it didn't. And I just sort of pushed that to the side and went on with my fake heterosexual
just
life.
to go back, was this threesome with your husband
No.
and another woman?
No. It's just one of those things that actors do when they're working in summer stock theater.
Oh, gotcha, yeah. You live through the experience and you just
It's
go
summer.
for it. Yep.
It's one of those things,
That's funny.
Here's to threesome.
Oh,
I've
here's
only
the
had
threesomes.
one, so there you go.
Okay, well, after that threesome, and you said that you enjoyed the woman a little more.
A lot more.
A lot more. How did they when they were listening to the story, they're like,
My girlfriends? We were sitting on the kitchen
single
floor.
moms, yeah.
Well, the woman who I had a crush on, who is gay,
Okay.
she went, I knew you were gay. Like her finger in my face. And I'm like, and at this time had I come out to Kevin? I don't think I had yet.
Okay.
I needed to come out to him soon after that, though.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's when I said it out loud. I went, yep, I am. There you go.
How did you start actually going into dating women?
And not too long after that, she professed that she was attracted to me.
Wow.
And I admitted that I was also attracted to her.
Okay.
Nothing happened, But one night we were on the phone together.
Like
Me and my friend.
Okay.
We were on the phone together. And I was sitting in the family room, and, Kevin was watching television. And I'm not like a chatty girlfriend on the phone kind of person. So when I hung up, she was going to the store to get chocolate cake because her mother was driving her crazy.
Yummy.
And she called me. She's like, "Can I bring you some chocolate cake?" And
So
I'm like,
leeway
"Oh,
in.
Mom, I'm not a dessert person." So I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I need any chocolate cake." And Kevin's like, "Cake? Chocolate cake? I'll take some. I'll take some cake."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Kevin would like some cake." So I told her, and she said, "I'll be right over." And I hung up, and he said, "Oh, it sounds like somebody has a girlfriend."
Okay. Oh, because she went to go get a chocolate cake.
Just the way we were talking, he could tell I had a friend.
Because he knew.
But he used the word, "It sounds like somebody has a girlfriend." And I was just like, that's a really loaded statement. You have no idea. Because, and I came out to him over cake.
Wow, okay.
And now I have just come out to him, and she is coming over with cake for him. Okay, so, 10 minutes later when she showed up, it was a little bit awkward. He didn't know that I had a crush on her. So when he said, "It sounds like somebody has a girlfriend," I think he meant girlfriend with a little g, but I was wishing for girlfriend with a big G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain, like, oh, your girlfriend's coming over.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, your girlfriend is
yeah.
coming over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. And I literally had just I came out to him that night.
Over cake.
And he was not, I think he was probably blinded by the cake or something, because things didn't start to get emotional until it's kind of like wake up the next morning and like, yeah, this is real. This time I really mean it. This is serious. We need to talk about it. And then the roller coaster starts, It's like
The roller coaster.
the roller coaster. Yeah.
The roller coaster.
The roller coaster.
Well, I have a feeling I know about your roller coaster, or we're about to hear about it.
You know what? It's like a buzzword in the LiLLies. Everybody uses the term roller coaster.
So,
because it's just emotionally, it's just up and down. And
yeah.
Particularly when, here's another buzzword.
Okay.
He's such a good guy.
Okay.
And you want to say, well, yeah, he's a good guy. You married him. And then there's like, oh, yeah, but I'm gay and I don't know what I was thinking. And then it's like, that aside, doesn't mean he's not a good guy. Some of these guys react pretty well. Some of them horrible. So people continue to live with each other. There's like an infinite number of ways to coexist with people you care about or move on. And like, what's the worst case scenario? They kick you out of the house. That's happened.
Okay.
What's the best case scenario? We find a way to work it out. So, horrible divorces, turn all your friends against you, really horrible situations. Yeah. To people some people continue to live with their husbands.
Out of security, safety.
It's like infinite number of reasons to stay.
Definitely.
Hi, I'm Ren Kwon.
And I'm Michelle Stevens. We're working on a project called Lez Lounge, where we take your story and help bring awareness to it. If you'd like to share your LGBTQ story or topic, please send us a message.
We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe below.